Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess, and you're my favorite viewer. But we just did a live stream and we went in on the cheapest axis lock on the planet. So if you haven't seen this thing before, we'll get all this out of the way real fast. This is a Mossy Oak that came in a 7-knife gift set for 25 bucks. 25 divided by 7 is $3.57. So we're going with a $3.57 axis lock. Now let's take a look at what we're holding because it'll bother you if I don't, and you know I love you. And first things first, and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We have got these injection molded scales, I assume are polypropylene, but I could be wrong. We have got our axis lock, we got our thumb stud, let's flick the stud. And we have got a little under 3 inches of blade steel that is not identified to work with. Okay, now that that's out of the way. So, real quick, I carried this thing for its week. It did good. I had fun playing with it. The pivot on it was kind of tight. I had to loosen that a hair and lubricate it to get it working like an axis lock should, but it did. So, I found it very favorable for the week. Now, one thing I wanted to do was swap out some bronze washers to replace the nylon washers that it was on. And while digging around, I gutted a Temu knife and I found bearings that were small enough to replace those nylon washers. So I bearing swapped a $3.57 knife. I know a lot of you guys have already seen where I did that, but of course, if you're just now seeing this, I had to let you know what happened there. But of course, we had to do our cardboard slayer, and on the factory edge, we popped a 189 on the tester before we started. It's not a terrible number, not the best, but we got 47 minutes out of it before we hit a 613. Farther back on the edge than expected. That was a lower number than expected after 48 minutes, but it was devastated. It was cutting like trash. And of course, that kind of cut time I lambasted this thing for. But that thing went 20 minutes on a nicer edge than this had before it died. So we went ahead and sharpened it on an 18-degree edge and got it down to 117 on the electronic tester. And we started cutting with it, and I will say the ergonomics made themselves known fairly early. This is not the most comfortable thing I've used, and of course it was colliding with this part of my hand being torn up from the previous live stream the night before when we did the storm pooper. This thing chewed my hand up bad for the amount of time I spent cutting with it. This thing didn't help any. It didn't provide a lot of relief. It was uncomfortable. By the time we were done, I could not wait for it to be over, which that kind of sucks because I enjoy cutting with these things. I enjoy doing the live streams. They're a lot of fun. But, we got the new edge on there. It cut like a bucket of hot damn, and it was doing great going through the cardboard. So we cut for an hour and we stopped and checked, and the edge was down to a 324 up around here and 390 a bit farther back. Like the rough spot was a little farther back than expected, which was interesting. We cut for another 45 minutes, and we pulled a 757 in one part, 567 on another. The numbers were rough, but it was devastated after an hour and 45 minutes. So with that brand new 18-degree edge mirrored out, like it had all the bells and whistles I could do with the Precision Adjust Professional, which, by the way, that thing is so much better than the Elite. My God, it's an improvement. But, we went through all that. And it's only an hour and 45 minutes on that edge. Now, the Storm Pooper, I believe, went 2 hours and 45 minutes with the same edge, with what I assumed was the same steel. Whatever steel this is definitely on the softer side. It didn't respond well to Cardboard Slayer. Like, the steel just ran out of dams to give earlier than I thought. I thought we were going to get at least 2 hours, but 1 hour and 45 minutes... I feel like that might be 3CR 13 territory or a little bit lower. It's kind of hard to tell when it's not identified. We're just kind of going off of what we feel and my ancestors saying, that's probably right, my child. And so, playing the guessing game with the steel sucks. I don't know if this is 3CR 13 with a softer heat treat or something lower grade. I don't know if this was 3CR or it might have been 4CR. No idea. So your guess is as good as mine as far as the steel is concerned. Please identify the stuff, even if it's crap steel. Just please identify it, guys. It's not that hard to do. It's just like make your stuff tip up. The axis lock had to be tip up by default. Everything else in that set was tip down. And they would have been cool little burner knives if they were tip up, but no. So, yeah, like I don't know what the steel is. I don't know how well I should have expected it to perform, but it didn't hold on to its edge all that well for all that long. I will say though, it sharpened up quite nicely. Like it sharpened up very, very well. It takes a crazy good edge, and we actually got the lowest number I've ever seen on the tester. We got a 93 out of it. That Precision Adjust Professional is giving me sharper edges than the Elite did by a noticeable amount, but like this thing, it's definitely sharp. Trying to do the S with it, not so easy, but like y'all can see, this is quite sharp. I don't know if we're going to pop another 93 on the tester, but we are going to break it out. It's still going to be a low number. Because sometimes when I do this, like, depending on the exact specific tiny point of the edge, when we hit that, it'll hit a slightly different number within a few points of a number on a different part of the edge. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. You know, if we were being ultra scientific, we'd take tests all along the edge and average them out, but that gets expensive kind of fast. These bags of test clips aren't the cheapest thing in the world. You know, it's like 25 bucks for 100 of them, and they go fast. Like, we went through a bunch of them during the live stream. We go through a lot of these things, so I got to be kind of conservative with them. But let's see where we are now. 148. So 148 is still a good number. Whatever I hit was a little bit sharper than the rest of the edge, but still seeing a 93 on that felt really good. Like, it took a very, very nice edge. So it's kind of like the Storm Pooper. It'll take a great edge. It won't hold on to it that great, but the steel really did crap out kind of early. That being said, if I would have bought this separately by itself for about $4, $3 or $4, outside of that set, I would have been very happy with it overall. Having to buy the set to get it kind of stings, but, you know, like, I've said it before, but if you haven't seen me say it before, I absolutely do not advise buying that set just to get this. The rest of the knives, there's like one rescue knife with a little, they call it a glass breaker, but I guarantee you it will bend the first time it hits a serious piece of glass. You know, that thing's tipped down. It's kind of trash. There are 5 other knives that are identical, but are also tipped down. Nothing special. And then the utility knife is the worst feeling utility knife I have ever handled. It feels like absolute garbage, the worst build quality I've ever seen. It's tipped down, and that pocket clip is the weakest pocket clip I've ever seen on anything in my life. So the set is not worth buying. It's not worth buying to get this unless you're doing something and making content with it. There's no point. But it is fun to play with. It's been fun to do videos on it. You know, I feel bad that I have to move on now because, you know, I didn't bearing swap it until after I carried it for a week, and this just amuses me to no end. You know, I'm the only person on the planet that has one of these bearing swapped, and I'm not going to do anything with it anymore. It's going on the pile. I may grab it for a novelty carry one day, but, you know, it did serve me well while I carried it. It did take a really good edge, and it did hold on for a little while in Cardboard Slayer, but that's one of the shortest runs we've seen on a brand new edge, just sharpened, in a long time. So whatever steel this is, it is low-grade steel. You know, guys are disappointed in the steel on the Storm Pooper here, but compared to this, the steel is like D2, basically. You compare this to this, and it's like comparing this to this. Yeah, here we go. In frame. Compare this to this is like comparing this to this. This is a huge downgrade in the steel, and it sucks. Like, I wish the steel would have been better because that would have made this a phenomenal value. But, you know, for trying to buy that set just to get one of these, God, no. Not worth it at all. And I've seen guys say they're contemplating getting the set, and I will have to say I insist on talking you out of it. There's no value there outside of being entertained by a stupid cheap axis lock. Now, I do hope that this means we'll start seeing stuff like this pop up more frequently. Like, I'm hoping this means Walmart's going to do more axis locks and things like this instead of the normal Ozark Trail fare. Ozark Trail's doing better, but still. But like Mossy Oak, like I'd hope they'd start doing more of this, and they should have sold this separately to see what the demand on it was instead of throwing it in a set that you had to buy, because that would have been really cool to see what that did, because this with better steel for like $5, dear God, that would be amazing. We'd have something to go along with the Storm Pooper for the holiday season, and I think the demand would be there. But, you know, that's enough rambling out of me. There's a lot of random thoughts strung together. But yeah, just overall, cool little novelty. It's a great little toy with an edge, but the steel sucks. I do like it, but not 25 bucks set to get one knife worth. So, you know I love sharing with you what happened during Cardboard Slayer. That's what happened with this thing. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. You've got no idea. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got giveaways coming up, live streams. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this, or spitball, I guess, about what the steel might be. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.